The Bayeux Tapestry holds many secrets, but none more enigmatic than the scene depicting a clerk and Aelfgyva. Some scholars have suggested that this image represents an event in Bayeux, or that Aelfgyva was William's daughter, despite her English name. However, a closer look at the tapestry's margins reveals a different story. This is not just a simple legend, but a crude tale told by Harold, the future King of England, during a winter evening in a grand feasting hall. The surprised birds and venom-spewing wyverns in the margins hint at the shock and entertainment this tale brought to the audience. The lady in the scene is Aelfgyva of Northampton, a historical figure who mysteriously disappears from records around 1040. Harold's story is more than just a history lesson. It is a clever way to introduce more confidential information to Duke William. Aelfgyva was a significant figure in 11th century England. She was taken as a wife or concubine by King C, not in 1013 or 1014. For safety, she and their son, Svein, were sent to Denmark to join C, not in 1015 or 1016. There she gave birth to a second son, Harold Harefoot. When Cnut conquered England in 1016, he married Emma, the widow of King Ethelred, leaving Aelfgyva to rule Norway from 1030 to 1035. After Cnut's death in 1035, Aelfgyva returned to England, seizing Winchester and the royal treasury from Emma. Her son, Harold Harefoot, became king with Aelfgyva as regent. However, the story takes a dark turn when Aelfgyva's son, Harold and Godwin, the powerful earl, are accused of luring and murdering Emma's son, Alfred, in 1036. By 1051 to 52, the political landscape had changed. Edward the Confessor was on the throne, and Godwin had tried to raise a revolt but failed. As a result, Godwin had to give up his sons, Wulfnoth and Hakon, as hostages to Duke William in Normandy. According to the monk chronicler Eadmer, Harold Godwinson went to Normandy to secure their release, fearing for their safety upon King Edward's death. However, this account was written under Norman influence, and may not be entirely accurate. King Edward was not in failing health in 1064, and his death at the end of 1065 was sudden. If Edward had already promised the throne to William, why would the hostages be in danger? This makes no sense. Harold's visit to William may have been a strategic move to discuss more than just the hostages. The tale of Aelfgyva could have been a cover for a more confidential conversation. The Normans later claimed that Edward had promised the throne to William, and that Harold was sent to remind him of this promise. However, the Bayeux Tapestry does not depict this claim, suggesting that the real purpose of Harold's visit was more complex. One theory is that Harold was sent to warn William about the potential threat of Queen Edith, Edward's wife and Godwin's daughter. Edith was a powerful figure, and could have claimed the throne herself or for an unborn child. This would have been a significant challenge to William's ambitions. Harold, known for his cunning and ability to hide his intentions, might have used the Aelfgyva story to gauge William's reliability and to sound out his stance on the English succession. The tapestry's margins continue to provide clues. Fierce pards biting their own tails and the fable of the fox and the crow suggest that Harold felt he had succeeded in his mission. However, a lion looking back at the fable hints that someone, possibly Duke William, was not taken in by Harold's tale. The tapestry's next scene shows a column of soldiers setting out, possibly on a spring offensive. The contorted, conjoined birds above the dominant figure, presumed to be Duke William, add to the mystery. These birds could be shape changers or ostriches, depending on interpretation. The Mont St. Michael is depicted as a small, turreted structure, suggesting the designer had never seen it in person. The figure in the mounted column, distinguished by his lamellar armor and cudgel, is often identified as Duke William. However, this figure bears a striking resemblance to Bishop Odo of Bayeux, who was later shown in the tapestry at the Battle of Hastings. This suggests that Odo played a significant role in the campaign and wanted it recorded. The Nordic styling of the wyverns and the armor of Bishop Odo hint at a possible connection to the Varangians, a group of Nordic warriors. This adds another layer of complexity to the tapestry's story. As the tapestry moves forward, the pace of the narrative quickens, and the story of Harold and William's interactions becomes more intricate. The Bayeux Tapestry is not just a historical document, but a rich tapestry of secrets, strategies, and hidden meanings. The mystery of Aelfgyva and the tales told by Harold are just the beginning of this complex and fascinating story. The column of soldiers forded the dangerous estuary of the River Couesnon, where the tides and sandbanks made the crossing treacherous. Horsemen raised their legs to avoid the water, while foot soldiers held their shields high to reduce the drag. Some men and horses struggled, falling into quicksands or strong currents, while fish and eels swam around them. Ravens, crows, and kites circled overhead, watching the scene with keen interest. In the midst of this chaos, Harold, the hero, worked tirelessly to rescue men from the water. 2 fish, connected by a cord, appear in the scene, a symbol that might represent the sign of Pisces, suggesting the time of year was late February to early March, coinciding with the spring tides. One soldier, grasping an eel by the tail, seemed to be in trouble. He held a knife in his other hand, possibly for skinning the eel. A pard, a type of wild cat, pulled him to safety, and a fierce hawk and a camel, symbols of burden, helped him. A centaur, a mythological creature known for its wild nature, was also involved, pulling on the camel's tail. This scene might be a metaphor for the expedition, suggesting that Harold's bravery, while impressive, might ultimately be futile. The proverb, "to catch an eel by the tail," implies a useless endeavor, hinting that Harold's efforts might not achieve the desired outcome. As the column moved on, they faced new challenges. Boars and badgers, known for their aggression, might represent the brigands who threatened the stragglers. The castle at Dal, where Conan was hiding, was besieged by dragons, symbolizing the fierce assault. Below the castle, 2 hawks or eagles congratulated each other, possibly representing William and Odo, while a wyvern lay dead, indicating that courage and strength had prevailed. The castle appeared to be on fire, and Conan escaped by sliding down a rope. The castles depicted in the tapestry are detailed and individual, suggesting that the English embroiderers had seen similar structures in England before the conquest. The expedition then reached Rennes, which was guarded by mastiffs and geese, known for their vigilance and loyalty. The mastiffs and geese symbolize the faithfulness and tenacity of the defenders. Despite this, Conan had to continue his flight to Dinan. The pursuit was represented by lions and winged lions, with vultures circling overhead. At Dinan, Conan faced a fierce resistance, but eventually surrendered, handing over the keys. The hawks bowed to William's forces, and the defeated lions bit their tails, while winged lions and an eagle celebrated the victory. The eagle might represent Bishop Odo, adding a layer of religious significance to the scene. The castles and buildings shown in the tapestry are highly detailed and individual, which suggests that the English embroiderers had seen similar structures in England before the conquest. This challenges the idea that Norman castles were the first of their kind. The castles in the tapestry, including the one at Bayeux, are likely based on English models, as the Bayeux castle never had a motte, a common feature in later Norman castles. The tapestry then shows Duke William conferring arms on Harold, a symbol of overlordship. Lions biting their tails and alarmed birds witnessed the ceremony, indicating that it was a clever move by William. As Harold swears an oath on holy relics, the animals around him react, suggesting the gravity of the moment. The foxes, known for their cunning, appear surprised, and the eagles and hawks cover their heads in shame. The oath, taken under duress, binds Harold to William, adding a layer of complexity to their relationship. Harold and his party quickly returned to England, their journey marked by shame. The scene of their landfall shows a castle-like building by the sea, possibly Dover, with a lookout and faces at the windows, symbolizing the watchful nature of the English defenders. Harold's return is not one of triumph but of compromise, as William now holds the moral high ground. The tapestry's margins reinforce this, showing Harold as a schemer, outwitted by a more cunning opponent. William has secured the non-aggression pact that Harold had hoped to achieve, and the stage is set for the next chapter in this unfolding tale of power, duplicity, and ambition. The journey to London is filled with mysterious signs and symbols. Harold, after his trip to Normandy, appears uneasy and untrustworthy. The birds seem confused, and the royal guards, or pards, watch over him as he meets King Edward. A special bird, called a caladrius, turns away from the king, a sign that the king is about to die. Indeed, the king does pass away, and the scene is filled with lamenting doves, the queen, and important figures like Stigand and Harold. The king stretches his hand out to Harold, perhaps nominating him as the next king, but this seems to be a last-minute decision, possibly to avoid conflict between French claimants to the throne. The funeral of King Edward is a somber affair, with birds and lions mourning. Harold is present, and the Witan, the council of nobles, offers him the crown. The animals around him seem to disapprove, and the sky is marked by a mysterious star, which many see as an omen. Harold is crowned, but the atmosphere is tense, with the animals and birds suggesting that this is not a universally accepted decision. As Harold sits on the throne, he receives news of a ghostly fleet, a sign that invasion is imminent. England, with its rich land and taxes, is a prized target. Harold sets a watch to guard the coasts, but a ship sails to Normandy, possibly carrying important information. The scene is watched by apprehensive sheep and scavenging birds, hinting at the coming conflict. Bishop Odo, the brother of Duke William, takes charge of the shipbuilding efforts. The tapestry shows woodsmen felling trees and shipwrights working with tools, while guards and birds watch. The ships are built with green timber, but this raises questions about the preparation time and the sourcing of materials. The tapestry suggests that the invasion was well planned, possibly starting as early as 1064. The Duke's entourage prepares for the journey, with armor, weapons, and even a small wagon. The animals and birds around them seem excited and apprehensive, and a pipe of wine suggests a boost of courage. Two strange birds, likely flamingos, appear, possibly symbolizing the Christian life or a rebirth, which could be a compliment to Duke William or Bishop Odo. As the fleet sets sail, the animals and birds call out, and the Duke lands at Pevensey. The tapestry shows horses leaping ashore, though this is likely artistic license. The landing is a significant moment, with ducks flying away and masts being lowered. The animals and birds react, signaling the start of a new and uncertain chapter in English history. The planning and execution of Duke William's invasion of England in 1066 required careful consideration of logistics and strategy. The horses, which were crucial for the cavalry, needed to be safely transported and unloaded. This process likely involved cranes or sheer legs for the heavy lifting, and the same method would have been used for barrels of wine, dry salted meat, and other supplies, as well as military equipment like arrowheads. The fleet was a mix of merchant ships and longships. The merchant ships were used for transporting supplies and troops, while the longships were faster and more maneuverable, capable of beaching and carrying infantry. Upon arrival, swift assault craft would have been used to secure the beachheads and lagoon, while the larger transport ships waited for the signal to enter Pevensey Harbor. Duke William needed a beach master, harbor master, and quartermaster to coordinate the landing and subsequent operation. The tapestry shows various animals symbolizing the different aspects of the invasion force: pards fierce and solitary, wolves bloodthirsty, stags noble, and lions noble and brave. These animals face a heron, which symbolizes the marshland and perhaps the local resistance. The lack of immediate opposition suggests there was no significant garrison at the landing site. The tapestry also depicts soldiers being sent to Hastings to secure food supplies. Hastings, in this context, likely referred to the entire Bay Area, as no specific seaside town by that name existed. The task of securing supplies was crucial, as the army needed to be sustained for several weeks. Eustace of Boulogne is shown requisitioning sheep and oxen, and various animals, including griffons, lions, and birds, are depicted in scenes that may symbolize the planning and anticipation of the invasion. A notable scene in the tapestry shows Odo, William's brother and a bishop, sitting at a table, blessing the food. This scene is reminiscent of the Last Supper, with Odo in the place of Christ. Eustace of Boulogne and possibly Odo's brother Robert are also present, while William is notably absent. This arrangement is unusual, and may suggest that Odo played a significant role in the planning and leadership of the invasion. The choice of an eagle above Odo, which symbolizes both valor and spiritual authority, further emphasizes his importance. The tapestry also shows the construction of a burg, or fortification, at Hastings. However, it is more likely that this was an internal earthwork within the existing Roman fort at Pevensey. Pevensey was a strategic and well-fortified site, with a harbor and defensible walls, making it an ideal base for William's forces. The idea of building a new fort at Hastings, which had no significant strategic value, would have been impractical and risky, Pevensy's importance is further highlighted by its entry in the Domesday Book, which records a substantial increase in commercial activity after the conquest. The fort had a mint, indicating significant trading interests. In contrast, Hastings is not mentioned as a substantial settlement in 1066, and its later growth may have been due to coastal changes. The tapestry's depiction of horses leaping ashore from ships suggests that the Normans landed at Pevensey. The idea that they then made a 12-mile dash to Hastings is unlikely, as it would have exhausted the cavalry and exposed them to potential ambushes. Instead, Pevensey provided a secure base, allowing William to control the surrounding area, gather intelligence, and prepare for the eventual battle. The invasion required a balance of strategic planning, logistical support, and symbolic leadership. The tapestry, with its rich iconography, not only records the events, but also reflects the complex relationships and power dynamics within the Norman camp. Odo's prominent role and the symbolic imagery suggest that he was a key figure in the invasion, perhaps even more so than traditionally acknowledged. William's invasion at Pevensey was a masterful strategic move. The fort and harbor provided a secure base, and the surrounding marshes and lagoons offered natural defenses. Estimates suggest his army numbered around 8,000 men, including 1,000 to 1,200 cavalry, 800 archers, and 4,000 infantry, supported by a fleet of about 500 ships. Upon landing, William's forces quickly established a stronghold. They needed to provision themselves, and the timing of the invasion during the harvest season was crucial. The invaders requisitioned local resources, including grain, cattle, and other supplies. For the cavalry, each horse required about 24 pounds of food daily, consisting of 12 pounds of concentrates and 12 pounds of bulk. This meant William's 1,000 horses required the produce of about 5.825 acres of land each day, amounting to over 36 acres of arable land for the entire army. Over the 16 days between landing and the Battle of Hastings, this consumed the equivalent of about 576 acres of farmland, or nearly 600 acres if including remounts and additional provisions. William's choice of Pevensey was not just about the fortress and harbor. The area around Pevensey, including the royal estate at Eastbourne, provided ample resources. The estate, with its 46 hides, 11,040 acres, was likely a major center for horse breeding, further enriching William's supplies. The local marshes and fens offered abundant grazing and hunting opportunities, ensuring the army was well fed. William's strategy also involved securing the surrounding area. He requisitioned heavily from the Crowhurst-Hastings side of the lagoon, creating a buffer zone that made it difficult for the English to approach undetected. By contrast, he treated Pevensey more leniently, maintaining local trade and support. This pragmatic approach helped him secure a steady supply of provisions and intelligence. As William's army prepared to face Harold, the tapestry shows detailed scenes of feasting and provisioning, highlighting the importance of morale and logistics. The tapestry also includes symbolic vignettes, such as a man with a purse and a naked man advancing on a woman, which may represent rumors of Harold's victory at Stamford Bridge or the soldiers' hopes for the rewards of victory. William's advance from Pevensey to battle was carefully planned. He likely divided his forces to ensure the area south and east of Battle was secure, preventing any surprise attacks. Reconnaissance columns checked the coast and the lagoon's left flank, rendezvousing at Telham Hill. This strategic hill offered a vantage point and a sense of the unknown, a place where the Normans needed to be vigilant against ambush. The tapestry's depiction of William questioning a scout about the enemy's movements and the appearance of guardian griffons and pollarded oaks emphasized the tension and the managed landscape they traversed. The acorns on the ground, a common feature in October, could have been a subtle trap, as horses could be poisoned by eating them. This underscores Harold's astute use of terrain, luring the Normans into unfamiliar and perilous ground. In the end, William's meticulous planning and strategic use of Pevensey as a base were key to his success. The invasion was a complex operation, but it was executed with precision and a deep understanding of the land and its resources.